Hi everyone, so today we're looking at jealousy and suspicion, the relationship killers. I'm Tim, this is Guy Finley, we're at his nonprofit foundation. So Guy, jealousy and suspicion, from either person's perspective, I mean this is becoming much more common, especially now with social media where everybody's connected to 200 people where previously you had 5 good friends or whatever it is, and everybody's texting everybody else, and you see all sorts of suspicions arising. Well, who are you texting with? What is this all about? When it comes to these things, this jealousy and suspicion, Mark Twain, he had this statement he said one time that a lot of horrible things have happened in my lifetime, some of which actually happened.
Right.
Jealousy and suspicion can a lot of times have that same sort of quality to it, where just the presence of the state itself is much more of a punishment, regardless of what's going on out there. And so often you find out that it's not what you thought it was, but yet, is jealousy and suspicion something that you just take as part of the road of a relationship? Or is it sort of a stepping stone that is intended to be outgrown?
Well, I think that it's, in one respect, inescapable in the average man, the average woman's relationship.
Right.
But assuming that we're talking about the possibility that individuals hope for, that one day I wouldn't be this ravening, possessed person, male or female. I mean, how many movies have been made where the partner's driven mad, with obsession and all the rest of that.
Right.
So I think, though, that we're going to address it as it is and then as we might eventually understand it.
Okay.
First, I don't think that we can come up with a negative state like jealousy or, jealousy or suspicion that isn't intimately tied to something that's far more deep inside of our psyche that we're not aware of. And basically it's this, is I experience jealousy and suspicion because something that person is doing or saying is threatening who I think I am. My identity, when it's threatened, only can assume certain paths, and one of them is jealousy. Who I am is defined by my relationship with you. And if you start having a friend that I don't know if you remember this, I do. When I was in grade school,
sure, yeah.
There was the Three Musketeers, my buds, and we did everything together. And then I'll never forget the day. I actually think I write about this in the book now that I'm going over it.
Seems like there's something.
I think I did. And then all of a sudden, one of the guys has a girlfriend. What, are you kidding me? you prefer a girl over me? It was just like that, because that's who we were. That's what we did. We went to the what was it, Gunther's drugstore and had cherry phosphate and French fries.
Right.
And then we went and threw the football around and got into trouble. That's what we were. That's what we did. And then this girl come into this life of one of these guys.
Yeah.
And I remember I felt betrayed. I was jealous. Now, what was I jealous of? The girl?
Right.
No. I was jealous that something that I was identified with was being threatened by an outside party, and I was losing what I would call my relationship with my friends. So jealousy and suspicion is all deeply connected in this idea that who and what I am can be threatened. Now, we get it as a boy.
Yeah, there's actually one thing to, when you say that, jealousy and suspicion is what we experience when, I forget what the wording was that you used, my identity is basically threatened.
The fear of loss.
But there's kind of this step between that where the way it really seems to me is it isn't so much my identity is threatened, but I stand to lose my partner.
That's it. Well,
so there's like a stepping stone between
so
those
we
two.
can connect that idea that what I am attached to basically defines my identity.
Right.
And when I'm attached to something, even a friend or a husband or a wife, whatever it may be, that means that I am summarily invested in that person.
Right.
Now, the truth is I'm not really invested in the person. I'm invested in what that person represents to me and I'm attached to the feeling that I have with this person. My sense of self can't be separated from that relationship. And when that relationship is threatened, i.e. by something that's going to change it in any way, I take it as a personal threat. Until we understand that, we're always going to meet those moments trying to change the person or the condition, instead of recognizing it's being offered to us as a chance to enter into another kind of understanding about ourselves. You have to ask yourself, people who are watching this, you have to ask yourself, is there ever a moment that you have gotten into trouble with someone or something where it wasn't because something that you took to be unassailable, not to be messed with, somebody messed with it? And then in that moment, you found fault with the person instead of understanding, I'm living with an attachment to an idea, an expectation, and that's what was shattered. So the limitation isn't the loss of the partner, and I'm not suggesting that we have, well, gee, that's great, sweetheart, you're seeing someone else, That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm simply suggesting that these negative states, as long as they define us according to our misunderstanding, we're going to be confined to those negative reactions. And one other thing, because you called it the killer, the
relationship killer.
The relationship killer. Why is it the relationship killer? Because I now think that I have to change you, control the circumstance, or meet with something inside of myself that I don't want to compromise. And out of that, nothing but resentment will grow. Nothing can change. So as long as I have suspicion or jealousy, and I become identified with the fear of losing something, I'm going to actually create the loss I fear.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of people who would say a relationship without jealousy, that can only be a relationship without love, because, I mean, you want to protect this person, you want to be sure that, you have only their best interests in mind. If suddenly someone's going to come along and take that person, to not feel jealousy means you were never in that relationship to begin with. I mean, a lot of people would voice that.
Of course, and I understand that. But basically what we're saying, when I'm jealous of my wife because she's
talking to the waiter,
whatever it may be, basically, without saying it out loud, I'm going, knock it off, you're mine. I own you. Now, you can't do anything other than what my ownership allows. And I'm asking now the people, is that love? Is love ownership?
Right, not at all.
Not at all. So when we can begin to discern the difference between these negative reactions, that's the problem. We don't hear something in us go, you don't do that. And the reason you don't do that is because this is what you do. And what you do is you assure me that I'm the one and only in your life. And anybody else is a problem. Now, does that sound like a relationship that's going to flourish and grow? Or is that a relationship that's crushed, not because of what the other person's doing, but because of the demands that I live with without knowing it in myself, that I hold over my partner? And just for the last thing I'll say here, love doesn't hold anything over anyone, pure and simple.
Right.
Now, what do you do with that jealousy? I mean, because that's what you're saying. All right, well, great, I've got a great mindset here, but I'm still on fire.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you have to understand that that all negative states, jealousy and suspicion, are negative states.
Right.
They are not produced by the limitation in our partner. They are a limitation in our understanding. If you've had enough relationships where you're jealous, because I talked about when I was a kid, I remember when I was 18 years old, I fell hard in love, and she began to lose interest, and I thought I was dying, because everything that I took myself to be, my value, the fabulous physical relationship, all that stuff just seemed to be going away, and so it felt like I was losing myself. And I think that until a person understands that who and what they are can't be lost, they're going to live with the fear of it. I just think that's the case.
Yeah, something that just jumped into my mind that's related to this, and I know we've maybe have 15 minutes, so we'll have to watch the clock and make sure we watch that. But this kind of, for a moment, reminded me of, infidelity, where you find out that your partner has actually, slept with somebody else, has crossed this boundary. And when you watch to see what your own mind does in a moment like that, you can start to see what it's doing in these moments of suspicion, because you get the worst news possible. Your partner tells you, here's what happened. And for the next 2 weeks, 2 months, however long, your mind is reliving scenarios, what it must have been like, what the person probably, all of these
nightmare
different
after
things.
Nightmare
After nightmare.
What does she have, I don't? What does he have, I don't?
Yeah, all of these things.
Yeah.
What the thing must have been like, what the interaction must have been like, all of these different things. That is an unnecessary punishment in that moment.
To say the least.
I mean, why would a person's mind just turn on them and beat them up, make them go through all of this horrible imagination when it's not necessary?
All right, look, it's a great question, but again, we have to peel back some onion here to see through why these tears and torment want to foment the way they do.
Right.
Our essential problem as human beings in relationships is that our identity is always a formulation of the relationship, so that who and what I am is always dependent upon something outside of myself. That's the fundamental problem.
Meaning she smiles at me and I don't even know that I have a feeling of, here's somebody who appreciates me.
She completes me. He completes me. Meaning that when I am with this person, all that I need to validate who and what I think I am is supplied for me in that moment.
Right.
And as long as we live from any relationship like that, because we could be talking about jealousy at work, somebody's getting a raise, I'm not, I'm being demoted. All of these things are threats to an essentially misunderstood identity. And as long as my identity is a derivative of any relationship, even though the relationship fulfills part of the identity, if it's a derivative of that, I'm done, because something's going to change that relationship. It can't not change. And to understand that when it changes, that it's going to produce in me a certain realization of where it is that who I am depends on you staying the same. You're done. Then suspicion comes in because my mind will paint the story that it relived the last time I got betrayed. Jealousy appears without being able to escape it because everything feels threatened. And the point is, the real threat is to a level of consciousness that doesn't understand. It exists and is independent of whatever it seeks validation from outside of itself. And if we can understand that, at least we have a mind that can begin to look at these moments where jealousy and suspicion comes in and start to realize, you know what? I'm feeling this stuff. The feel is real, but the why is a lie. The feel is real, man, I feel it, but the why is a lie. How do I know the why is a lie? Because I've been able to gather some self-knowledge. I've seen myself in this situation 12 times. I've seen where it goes every time, and I end up destroying the very thing that I'm trying to keep. I won't do it. Then I have to step back, and instead of finding a reason for my jealousy, I have to be the observer of it, the witness of it, to realize as deeply as I can that this appears as it does because something is threatening who and what I think I am. And in the end, nothing can threaten love.
Yeah, there's one thing that seems to be implied in all of this, which is, as you describe the whole unfolding of what typically happens, where jealousy appears, and you get the sense that, wait a second, well, it's in some way, it's almost it's hopeless living at this level. There, in what you're saying seems to be the implication that there's a level above that way of living.
Yes, it's a done deal. And I think very much to this conversation, and to wrap it up. We as human beings are a churning urn of burning funk, a confused mass of emotion and thought. We do not understand ourselves at all. We let our negativity tell us it understands. Jealousy tells me I know why I'm in pain. Jealousy is not telling you why you're in pain. Jealousy is pointing out a pain in you you don't understand. And as that can grow, just in this dialogue, just why can't I want to understand jealousy and suspicion, which unattended generates its own negative pattern, producing the outcome I don't want? Why can't I at least suspect, maybe I don't know what this jealousy is about. Maybe I don't understand this suspicious nature. I know where it takes me. I know what happens to me. I know what I do to others. But maybe I could just be curious about this. If you accomplish that much, then you've accomplished a small separation between this false identity and its dependency. And as that separation grows, you become freer and, if you will, evolved in an understanding that love can't be betrayed. Love is not going to betray anybody. And now we have a means by which we can start looking at ourselves without being captured by jealousy and suspicious thoughts and feelings.
Right, so when you say love can't betray anybody, you know, most of the listeners will hear that and think, well, I've been betrayed in all sorts of love relationships. You mean the authentic love will never betray.
My identity is betrayed by every passing condition that threatens my image of myself.
Yeah.
So when we talk about being betrayed, we're simply talking about a level of self that doesn't yet know what real love is.
Yeah, and just what you're saying, it immediately changes your relationship even to looking at jealousy, where previously I always thought the jealousy was about the person I'm with.
Right.
And I start to learn it actually has nothing to do with this person or any other person where I've ever felt jealousy. It's a kind of constantly misusing these relationships for things that they were never really intended to do.
That's right. It is looking into a mirror, which relationships are, and not seeing what's actually there, seeing what something in us needs to see to validate the negativity, the jealousy, the suspicion.
And the cool thing, just to finish this out, is when this starts to dawn, then relationships kind of fall in their right place, because now this understanding is above any change in relationship.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then, no matter what it is that's taking place in the relationship, it's win-win.
Yeah.
You actually grow, even though you would say, oh, well, I'd rather not go through that, but then you grow by going through it, because you're understanding you have to go through yourself.
Right. Thanks, Guy. Folks out there, if you liked the conversation, give us a thumbs up. And if you have questions, put them down in the comments. If you have other things you'd like to have us discuss, put that in the comments as well. And then also, this book, Guy's brand new book, Relationship Magic, is loaded with all kinds of information about the things we've been discussing here, plus so much more. If you go to relationshipmagicbook.com, relationshipmagicbook.com, you can get this book along with a free audio version of this book read by Guy. So those two go together really nicely. That's at relationshipmagicbook.com. Otherwise, we'll see you for the next chat. Thanks, Guy.